What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. This is the Juan More Thing Podcast, and today on this episode, I'm going to talk about 10 quotes. Some of them are quotes that I have came up with myself. I hope they're good. Others are from different people that I've watched on podcasts or listened to. And these quotes are those that actually made me think, um, or help me get more perspective on why do I feel unhappy in life. Yes. All right. I think this is something that a lot of us struggle with, that whole feeling unhappy and not knowing why, or we have that inclination to figure out why, but we just can't figure it out. So these are 10 of the things which I maybe kind of not say boiled it all down to these 10 things, but these are just 10 of the contributing factors that I realized made me unhappy in life unknowingly. Right. So I think in this, expect to learn about what you are unconsciously doing, or even maybe consciously doing, things that you are doing every single day that you are not aware of, and what it actually means, and learn about some of the deeper understandings of how you work and how then can you change to hopefully make a positive impact and lead your own life into a more positive one, and one that you will enjoy much, much more. So let's get to it. Number one. So this is a quote from myself. Again, all the quotes that I am saying that is from myself, I just pieced it up in a sentence in my own structure, but the general idea, I wouldn't say I own the idea. Of course, in this day and age, 2024, it's very hard to own new ideas, right? But this is just my version of how to convey it. So number one, you don't need success to feel the shitty feeling of failure, but you need failure to feel the elation and triumph of success. So this first one explains why it is so much easier to feel down in the dumps than it is to feel elated and accomplished. Right? I'm sure that most of us, we feel more shitty than we do feel great. Feeling like shit is unconditional, whereas feeling fulfilled is conditional on whether you had to overcome the feeling of shit to get to your goals. Furthermore, the bigger the shit, or the more shit you had to overcome, the bigger and deeper the feeling of success will be. Think about it, all right? Make sure you try to go back to whenever you last felt like shit. What happened that made you feel like shit? Did you had to have some sort of success in order for you to feel like shit? And then also think back to the last time you felt very fulfilled and very accomplished. Now, did you have to feel a sense of failure before you felt that sense of accomplishment and elation? What you will find is exactly what I said just now. Feeling like shit is unconditional. It does not need a condition for you to feel like shit. But in order for you to really feel like the triumph of like I am successful despite all odds, like literally you have to say despite all odds, I am successful, and odds are the shitty things that happen. So what does this mean then? Well, one perspective I see it from is that feeling like shit is not dependent on your lack of success. A lot of times, the easiest conclusion we come to when we are in a slump is that we are simply lousy or good for nothing because we haven't succeeded in a while. But understanding that feeling like shit is independent of your success and is rather a reflection of your current state of mind and emotion. So to get out of this, you don't need to get success. You just need to change your current state of mind And that is massively easier than having to be successful first to then not be a failure. So if we logically think about it, we don't need to be successful in order to fail. Which means that if we fail, it does not mean that we are not successful or we are successful, because it does not matter. So the common mistake we make is we align failure directly in relation to success. But if you have been understanding what I'm talking about, failure does not care about success. You can fail even if you had no success. So failing doesn't mean you are not successful. It just means, it just came without any condition. So on the flip side, it also means that if you feel like shit, you're on your way to earning your feeling of accomplishment once you get there. Because as I mentioned just now, failure is kind of like a requirement in order for you to really feel the triumph and the achievement of being successful. So lots of people see hardships as obstacles, but in reality, it is a waypoint you should work together with to get where you want to go. What is the difference? The difference is you cannot use your energy to work against and also with something. You are either using your energy to work against and prevent something from happening, or working with to build something. Again, humans cannot multitask. We can only do one thing at one time with one true intention. That's why we have priorities, so that we know what to focus on. And when we are doing something, usually we only focus on just that one purpose of doing it, right? Try to go and do something with 3 different purposes. You are gonna get very stressed because you're gonna keep switching between, I gotta do this, but this does not align with the second or the third priority. And that's why the true way of doing something is just to have one clear purpose and intention. So if you are focused on using your energy to counter this obstacle, you are not using it to work with. So one will signal your mind and body that is in danger and you should stop, defend, or turn around. And the other will signal to your body that it is relatively safe, be open to change, and to keep going forward. So if you see it as an obstacle, one of your eyes will be on where you came from. Like, should I be U-turning? Right? So you'll be overly cautious. You will be, in overdrive. Your mind will be thinking of different scenarios because it is in this relative fight or flight response, right? Like it does not know whether it should turn around, it should run away, or it should, think of many different scenarios to prepare for. But if it is something that you are working with, right, you are on the same team, you are not going to feel that hostility. You're not going to feel endangered from it. Yes, it's going to be a challenge, but not a detrimental one that will cause you harm. It is something that you work together with and continue forwards. So it's going to be way more productive. So that's the first one. Success and failure are opposites, but they do not appear in our lives through the same conditions. So the quote is, you don't need success to feel the shitty feeling of failure, but you do need failure to feel the true elation and triumph of success. That is number 1. Number 2, who can be free if they have lost the freedom to abstain? I got this quote from this current book I'm reading. The book is called Discipline is Destiny. It is by one of my favorite authors. Hey, can you imagine a time where I would actually say favorite authors? Like 3 months ago, I totally did not even want to read anything, and now I'm buying like 3 books from Popular, and I'm like reading them every single day. Damn, am I a grown up? So I'm reading this book, Discipline is Destiny. It's one of the 4 Stoic values, or the big 4 in Stoicism. Yeah, so it's all about temperance. But anyway, yeah. Who can be free if they have lost the freedom to abstain? Freedom is a very hard thing to attain, but very easy to be deluded into attaining. Why? Because of the illusion of choice, because of the trickery of independence, because of dependency, and I will go as far as saying that freedom in itself is a paradox. There's a lot of things to go into talking about freedom. I'm not an expert in it. I can only say from my opinions and what I have, seen around the world and all that. But to avoid going down that rabbit hole, I just want to focus on this quote that centers around abstinence. Addiction, in an era of abundance, is no longer as narrowly encompassing as previous. So you think about back in like 1950s, 1960s, right? I think if you were to make a list of things people were addicted to back then as compared to now, I think the list would easily be like 5 times longer than it was back then. So apart from the usual feel like, drugs, pornography, drinking, those that were also quite present previously, now you got things like technology, you got entertainment, you got more gossip, you got sugar, you got food, you got drinks, you got trends. There's so much more things to be addicted on. And I think whatever I just mentioned just scratches the surface, right? So it doesn't have to be like very like against the law things. Addiction by definition refers to a chronic condition that involves compulsive seeking and taking of a substance or performing of an activity despite negative or harmful consequences. So even things like bubble tea, it is harmful for your health. So if you are compulsively seeking and taking bubble tea, right, then that is an addiction. It does not have to be something that is against the law. So anyway, it is not for me to say that you are addicted to something. I believe everyone, even myself, is addicted to something. And what this quote really focuses on is not what you are addicted to. That is none of my concern. If you are working on it, good for you. If you are not, then you will one day. Yeah, maybe you just need time. But anyway, so what this quote focuses on is the self-control part of addiction, the abstinence. Because if we don't have the self-control to abstain from whatever cravings we seek, whatever emotions we feel, whatever thoughts we get, then we are not free, but a slave to those cravings, emotions, and thoughts. Because now they are controlling what we do. Despite us knowing that it is harmful for us, we have no power to prevent it from happening. We think we are in control, but are we really? The more we say we are, the more we delude ourselves and the further away from freedom we go. For example, could you go without a cup of bubble tea for a month? I know that is easy for some of us who are not but I'm talking about those who are like ritualistic drinkers of bubble tea. Is it because you want bubble tea or because you need it? You have a compulsive need to seek bubble tea and drink it. Could you go for a month without bubble tea? Could you go without gaming for a month? Could you go without swearing for a month? Could you go without social media for a month? And what about streaming services like Netflix, Disney Plus, YouTube? So these are the things that we are actually not conscious that we are addicted to, right? You might ask me like, but what is the harm of all of these different things that I've mentioned? So that right there is you not knowing that there actually is negative consequences or things that come from doing all these things. Maybe you just have to read up on it. You just have to do your research on it so that you know what you are consuming. You know what you are doing to yourself, to your mind, to your emotions, to your emotional regulation, and your mature what's that, progression yeah, right? So if you are able to say, or if your first instinct is to say, I am not addicted to that, is either because you are not aware of your addiction, you are in denial, or you just don't know that it is harmful. That's why you don't see it as an addiction, because it's not harmful. So it is not really about whether it is definitively harmful or not. Definitively. Okay, I know some of it is like, there's no significant studies about it, but it's just whether are you aware of the studies that have been done, right? But the ability to abstain whenever. So again, it does not matter whether it is harmful necessarily or not. It is whether you have the choice to stop it whenever you want, or you actually don't have a choice, right? So for example, something that is not harmful is, let's say, like simple things like maybe, I don't know, sleeping with no aircon, right? Can you sleep with no aircon? I mean, there's no harm in sleeping with or without an aircon. Yes, there is slight benefits, you get a better sleep and all that stuff, but are you dependent on it? So do you have the self-control to do what is uncomfortable rather than what is routine and comfortable? What or who are you a slave to? And the quote is, who can be free if they have lost the freedom to abstain? That is number 2. And how this links to that whole unhappiness is, if we don't have the freedom to abstain, we are living our life reacting to whatever happens. We are not really in control. And if you don't have control of your life, you are not going to necessarily be happy, because you're not doing things that you really want to. You're doing things out of routine. So who can be free if they have lost the freedom to abstain? Number 3. This is one of my favorite. Confidence is quiet. Insecurities are loud. For this, I'm gonna link it back to my own past experience. And I don't know if any of you know, but I was a very insecure person last time. I'm not afraid or ashamed to say it. I think insecurity is something everyone is born with and has to go through, or have to go through the process of living through it, realizing it, working on it, and then being at peace with it. But unfortunately, not everybody makes it past the first or second stage of living through it and realizing it. Usually they get stuck there, right? It's either they're just living through it without having realized that they are insecure about something, right? Or they live through it and then they realize it, but they don't work on it. And then they don't become at peace with it. So it is usually those who live out loud that are insecure, while those who are confident and at peace, who live their lives quietly and contently. So the most common examples that I hear on podcasts relating to like insecurities and everything and overcorrecting are celebrities. So the common consensus, or the argument that was put forward, I won't say common consensus, but the common theory or framework that everyone says is that in order for you to become a celebrity, or in order for you to really love being a celebrity, it stems from the insecurity of not being liked. That's why they want to be liked. That's why they want to be famous. That's why they want they want the attention, because, they were insecure about it. So for myself, right, last time I didn't have the best confidence when I was younger. If you didn't know, I was overweight, like severely overweight at one point. I was terrible at socializing and talking to people. I think I still am now. I was not able to regulate my emotions, true story. And I had a distorted idea of what success was. And I would not have realized all this if I had not done any self reflection, which is the working on it part, which is why I, again, am now not afraid or ashamed to say it, because, yeah, it is part of my life. I'm not gonna ignore or disregard that part of my life, because it is a very key learning point for myself to become who I am and to continuously become better. So these are how those insecurities manifest out loud from my personal experience. So again, I was overweight. Okay, I was severely overweight for a small bit. I was like, went up and then I went back down. So, but I was overweight for a big part of my childhood. But yeah, so once I physically got healthier, I felt the need to take more photos and post more photos of myself looking fit, because even though I was physically healthier, my unresolved insecurity was still living out loud. So I had to. And back then I would just say like, oh, I just want to post a photo because I can. But I would admit that deep down it was because I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be, to show that, oh, I was not overweight. I'm now healthier. And again, even though I was physically healthier, spiritually and mentally, I was still insecure. And that kind of came out into the physical world of having to post more photos, having to get more attention, and all of that. So I needed validation. I sought confidence from people knowing I wasn't overweight or that I looked good. When I started being around people more, I needed people to like me to prove to myself that I wasn't terrible at talking or socializing. So the more people who knew me and liked me, the better. So whenever I would go out, right, like maybe to, I would say dance events, dance competitions, right, I would make sure people knew who I was, and I would try to talk to more people, and I would try to get them to like me, because if I was really bad at socializing and talking, they are not gonna like me, right? They're not gonna like, this guy's so weird, like this guy sucks at talking, right? But if I was able to talk and I was able to get them to like me, right, get them to like, hey, this guy's quite cool and everything, then it means that I am not, it kind of fits, it kind of it's like a plaster on my insecurity, right? So it's living out loud. I had to do it. It's not like I wanted to prove to myself that I was not bad at it, but I had to, because I wanted to get the likes. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to show that I was not this or that, right? And I would do crazy things to prove that I was tough and able to be successful, and the more people who saw it, the better. So again, it's all about that image you are giving to everyone rather than what you are giving to yourself. Because in order for you to give it to yourself, you don't have to give it out loud, right? Confidence is quiet, right? If you are insecure about anything, you're confident about yourself, you're just going to prove it to yourself. You don't need people to know about it. But if you're insecure, you need people to tell you that you are not that, whatever that is. So look at those truly confident people, right? Those who live quietly, at peace, content with who they are, what they have, and if not silently, do the work to get there. They have no need to post about anything, no need to seek validation from anybody, no need for people to know that they are grinding hard, no need for people to know their achievements. They just need themselves and their close friends to be content and happy. Like, ain't that the life? Isn't that the life? One of my favorite, most hardcore person is David Goggins. He is literally one insane human. And yeah, I mean, he has proven many, many times that he is who he says he is. But I don't know, when I just found out that he does like these 100-mile runs like many times without even posting anything about it, like no one knows that he's doing all these. The only people who is there is his wife, who is in a car, like just trailing behind him just to make sure that he doesn't die on the journey. And it is his wife that is the one that is posting once in a while, like if I did not post this, no one would know he's doing this kind of thing. That is true confidence. Like it's just all about him building himself up. He doesn't need people to do that for him. So confidence is quiet and insecurities are loud. So I'm not saying that the more you post or share about your life means the more insecure you are, but it is worth looking into the motivation behind it. Are you loud because there is insecurity? Right? So I think one of the most common things that I would really suggest you to, or I did this for myself as well, right, is why are you posting stories about what is happening at the present moment? Is it because you want people to know that you are doing that? Or is it really because you want to share the moment? Right? Or is it a mix of both? Doesn't mean it has to be one or the other. It could be a mix of both. And as long as there is that little bit of because I want people to know blah 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 blah, because I want people to see me as this person blah 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 blah, that is a small bit of insecurity that you should be looking at. So that is number 3. Number 4, let's get into something that was said by this person, Jimmy Carr. He says, "We are who we are when nobody is watching. For better or worse, who we are when we are alone and with no one watching is who we really are. It can be as simple as picking up trash because we're with friends, but leaving it on the floor because there's no one around and there's no one there to judge you and no one there to condemn you for just leaving it on the ground. Or maybe being quiet and respectful about something when in the presence of other people, but then throwing out vulgarities and more when there is no one around. So what we do, how we act when there is no one around, essentially is the real us, because who we are when we are in the presence of other people is a filtered and controlled version of us. On a deeper level, who we are in our heads is the real us. I will go even deeper than physical world acting, right? Physical world actions, right? Who we are in our head is the real us, because nobody other than us is present in our heads. No one can watch our thoughts. No one can watch all the things that happens in our head except for us. So we might be like outwardly conscious and that might still be filtered. But the truly unfiltered things is what happens in our heads. Whatever unfiltered thought, judgment, opinion, and attitude we talk with in our heads is the real us. No matter how filtered, redacted, or warped the words verbalized are, if we want to know who we truly are, take note of whatever goes on in our heads. So this one quote, I will top this up with another quote from Alex Hormozy. Authenticity is true alignment from what you think to what you say and do. That is, in his opinion, what authenticity truly is, right? True alignment from what you think, say, and do, which means that what you think, you don't have to filter it, you don't have to do anything, you just say and do whatever it is you think of. So that is true authenticity. Yes. So maybe the reason you feel uneasy or even fake or unhappy is because what you are doing, all these good appearances, these good deeds, filtered opinions, or even the opposite, right? You are feeling like you have to conform to the bad behavior of this group because you wanna fit in, or whatever it is. Whatever that is not aligned with what you think. And that's why you feel this conflict within yourself. And Maybe that's why you feel the need to always have to be around others, because you can't stand to be alone with your negative self. For the ones that, have to be better when you're around your friends, right? Maybe why you always want to be around your friends is because you like that feeling of doing good stuff. But you can only do it when with your friends because they are there to judge you. You need some sort of accountability because you cannot be accountable to yourself and your negative self. So I'll bring back one of my old quotes. This was one of the reels I did on IG. If everything you said was recorded and played out for everyone to hear, would you stand by what you said? If everything you typed out was screenshotted and shown to everyone, would you stand by what you typed? I will go one more further, and if there was a live projector of what goes on in your head that plays out your thoughts, that shows what you think, would you... Ooh, yeah. What will happen then? So we are either who we say we are or we are not. And we are who we are when no one is watching. Quote Jimmy Carr. Number 5, we're halfway there. I said there was 10 things, right? Number 5. Oh, this is a good one. So this quote is by Derek Silvers. He says, "Mastery is the best goal because the rich can't buy it, the impatient can't rush it, the privileged can't inherit it, and nobody can steal it. You can only earn mastery through hard work. So mastery is the ultimate status." In point 3, the one about insecurities are loud, confidence is quiet, I mentioned briefly that I had a distorted view of what success was. And this succinctly delivers that, right? So what was my distorted view of success? I think it's pretty common, actually. I believe that success was a lot of money, early achievements. You win a lot of things at an early age. You're like a prodigy, right? And if you're not a prodigy, means you are not successful. And being privileged, right? Having great things here and there. But real success and ultimate status is mastery, just for the fact that it cannot be bought or stolen. So this is what I subscribe to now. It's not about money. It's not about having early achievements or being privileged. It's about mastery. So you can't buy the ability to run a marathon, nor can you steal the ability to run a marathon. You can't inherit the creativity to choreograph intricate pieces. You can't buy the skills and intuition needed for yourself to run a successful business. These are all things that you have to work hard to get or to develop. No way you can buy or steal these. You can steal a business, sure, but then can you continue running it? That's another question. So this is why I absolutely love the Olympics, because none of them bought their way into the games. None of them inherited their way into the game. I mean, not that I have known. You can argue for those that, bought like drugs to enhance their abilities and whatever it is, but they got caught, man. You see people from even third world countries earning their way into the game, so it proves that privilege is no factor at all. It is a place where hard work is really recognized and mastery is celebrated. So beyond that, mastery of a discipline, right? The true one is mastery of yourself. That is such a powerful and elite status. Just now we talked about abstinence, right? If you can have abstinence, you are somewhat a master of yourself because you can control. You have that control. If not a master of discipline, then aim to be a master of yourself. Your emotions, your thoughts, your habits, your character, every aspect of yourself, be a master of that. You don't need money to get it. You don't need to be privileged to get it. It is obtainable by anyone and by far the most valuable mastery of all. You don't need to have a lot of money to learn how to master yourself, regulate your emotions, your thoughts, your habits, etc. Right? You don't need to come from a wealthy family to do that as well. Everything that can become is dependent on the mastery of oneself. So a mastery of, let's say, track and field, right, comes from a mastery of yourself, because you need good habits. You need to control your emotions and your thoughts and all of that, right? Same goes for mastery of anything else. You are the one that does it, so you have to master yourself first before you master anything else. Mastery is the best goal because the rich can't buy it, the impatient can't rush it, the privileged can't inherit it, and nobody can steal it. You can only earn it through hard work. Mastery is the ultimate status. That is by Derek Silvers. So how does this then link back to this whole unhappiness? Again, big topic is that it's more of what are we chasing, right? This mastery thing. We all are definitely chasing something that we want to be good at, but it's just not making us fulfilled because maybe what we are chasing is the wrong thing, or how we think we're supposed to get it is the wrong thing, or what we deem as valuable is the wrong thing. So you might be in the same boat as I was, where you have this distorted view of what success was, or what we should be good at, right? So yeah, just more of being clear what is truly worth mastering and what is really a healthier view of success. It is not anything that is external, and it is not anything that is perishable. Yep. Let's move on. Number 6. We are more than halfway there. This one is by Alan Watts. So this is the backwards law. If you have not heard it, this is what it is. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience, and accepting a negative experience is a positive experience. So it is backwards. Wanting a positive experience is not a hard thing to do. I think most of us live in a constant state of wanting positive experiences. For example, we want money, we want a better job, we want better results, we want to achieve our goals, etc. Those are all positive experiences. But in the pursuit of a positive experience, we don't necessarily accept the negative experience it brings. Either because we want to protect and preserve our ego, or we just don't recognize or become aware of the negative experience. So why is this important? Because things cannot become better if we do not realize what is not good enough now. If we don't accept that now we are not where we want, then we cannot be in the right mindset to go to a better place. Because if now is not bad, why shouldn't we just stay at where we are? Right? So wanting to go to a somewhat better place means accepting that now where we are is not good enough, which sucks, right? It is like wanting a better job, but not knowing why you don't like your current job. You might very well get another job that is similar because you don't know what is wrong. Or wanting better results, but not knowing why you are currently not getting it. You continue doing the same things and get the same results. Maybe we think that wanting a positive experience is in itself a positive experience. But if you think in that way, like try to think, have a moment to think how that works. How will that work? If wanting a positive experience is in itself a positive experience, like how? Why? Try to find a reason. Accepting a negative experience, on the other hand, is something I talk very deeply about in episode 2, How to Live a Simple Life. If you have not heard that, go for it. It's all time-stamped on YouTube, so I think you can find this acceptance of the now or something like that in that chapter. But briefly, it is not about giving up. and not doing anything about your current circumstance, but just acknowledging that this is where we are right now. And based on where we are right now, what is the next actionable and productive step to take? So it's not like resigning your fate and be like, oh, okay, I accept and acknowledge this is where I am, so I can't do anything about it, right? It's taking stock like, okay, this is the situation right now, right? I am not arguing that this is the situation right now. This is what it is. So now with this situation and all this information I have, not going against it, I'm working with it to find what is the next actionable and productive step. So it puts things into perspective based on the reality of the situation and not based on emotion or judgment. It is objective, right? Once we accept it, we can take steps to work on it and get to where we want. Don't get distracted by the negativity of the situation. In fact, don't even label it as negative. If you can do that, you have a mastery of your opinions and your judgment. Why do we have to label things as negative or positive, right? So don't label it as negative. It just is. It is what it is, right? Not good enough. There is nothing negative about that. It is an objective fact, and once you take judgment out of it, it is easier to accept and get on with it. You feel more at ease, you are more focused on what is actually important, and you spend more time doing the work. What a positive outcome. So that is the backwards law. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience, and accepting negative experience is a positive experience. And this is by Alan Watts. So how does this link back to the whole happiness and unhappiness thingy, right? Again, this is 10 quotes why you might be so unhappy in life. Is because either we think positive experience is in itself a positive experience and we are not expecting the negativity to come, and that's why we are not as accepting of that negative feeling, or we just stop at wanting a positive experience and knowing it is a negative experience without accepting that negative experience to turn it then into a positive experience, right? So it's just more of a something is haywire. Something is not either not complete or something is just not connecting. Yeah. Number 7. What you are doing is who you are, not what you want to do or what you really want to do. This is one of the more confusing points. So to understand this a little bit better, let's try to break it down. Okay, let's start with the most confusing thing, which is the 1-2-1-2. So I'll put it in this perspective, right? So most of us stop at the question of what do you want, right? So what do you want? We usually say, I want more money, I want more time, I want the newest phone, I want to be liked, etc. But have you ever asked yourself, what do you actually want to want? Try to understand the context from where it's coming from. Okay, what do you actually want to want? So think about it. You can pause here and try to think about it before you move on. But this is maybe some of the things that you come up with. Okay, so answers like, I actually want to be accepted as I am, instead of wanting to be liked. Or I want to love myself instead of wanting the newest phone. Or I want to be a good and resilient person instead of wanting more money. So it's the things that you should feel like you should be wanting instead of what you actually want, right? Like, you should be wanting to be a good person if that is not in your top 5 first answers of what you want. Why do you not want it as much? So should you be wanting to want that? Or maybe think of it in a way where someone is asking you, why don't you want XYZ? If it is not in your top 5 first answers of what you want, why are those not in your want? And should you be wanting that instead? right? It's a little bit, oof. But if you understand that, you have a good brain. Building on that framework, what is it that you want to do? For myself, I actually want to train myself in something. I like being pushed to the limit. I like to feel like I'm going to puke after I do a really intense workout. My muscles are like totally burning and screaming, and my lungs are like on fire. Compared to what I want to do, which is just to have a stable income and savings. Compared to what I am doing, which is freelancing. So those three are totally not in line. Freelancing, there is no stable income, minimal savings. What I want, stable income and savings, is not going to be gotten by what I really want, right? Which is to train like a madman. Yeah. So when we say we want something, maybe what you are doing is aligned with that. Although I find it hard nowadays to find someone with an aligned desire and action. But is what you want and what you are doing aligned with what you actually want to do? So if you are able to get this framework and logic, you are actually one step closer to unlocking your own happiness and passion, if you want to call it that, your passion. Right? If you're not sure what your passion is, it is what you actually want to do. Or maybe just stick with the question, what do you want? In life, we have a lot of wants, but are those wants something we should want to want? Oof, someone should do a want counter on this point. Like, how many times did I say want? I will estimate. I never count. I would think it's like 50. I may be wrong. Yeah, but that is it. Okay, so what you are doing is who you are. Okay, it's not about what you want to do or what you really want to do, right? You can say that I want to be a good person, but if what you're doing is not in alignment with wanting to be a good person, then by default you are not a good person. Similarly, if now you ask the question, what do you want to do? I want to help, end poverty, right? Maybe that's in line with what you want to do. You want to be a good person. But all of that is irrelevant because who you really are is what you are doing right now. Yeah. So there's that little disconnect and conflict, and that's why you're not truly happy, because you are not truly authentic. Again, authenticity, I think that was the best definition of authenticity to me, the one by Alex Hormozy. It is true alignment of what you think, say, and do. We're almost there. Number 8. This is purposeful quantity in the pursuit of optimization is far more valuable than wasting time optimizing for quality. I'll repeat it one more time. Purposeful quantity in the pursuit of optimization is far more valuable than wasting time optimizing for quality. This kind of goes back to my first episode when I talked about this pottery story that encapsulates this idea. So the story goes as this. There was this professor of architecture and pottery. Not architecture, sorry, just pottery. So he had 2 classes, and he decided to give these 2 classes 2 different tasks, but the end goal was the same. The end goal was to make the perfect pot. Okay, or the end goal that he had for himself, like to determine the outcome of this whole thing, was who can make the best pot. Okay, so for one class, his task was to just, whatever you do at the end of this, assignment, you just need to turn in one perfect pot, the most perfect pot that you can design or make and whatever. And for the other class, the task he gave was, I want you all to just make as many pots as possible in this duration of the assignment. Just make as many as you can. At the end of the day, what happened when everyone turned in their vases or pots was that he found that the class which did the most number of pots, the task was to just make as many pots as they could. Their vases or pots were more perfect than those that just had to do one and submit one perfect part. And it was because in the duration of the assignment, let's say it was 3 months, right? The students that were so focused on making that one perfect part spent most of the time thinking, planning, researching, and trying to construct that one perfect part. Whereas those that were just doing sheer numbers of parts, they were able to figure out the processes, they were able to figure out what were the troubleshooting things that they had to figure out, what was the things they needed to make the parts, what was a better way to make parts, and what made a pot look nice based on the parts they have made so far. So it is more of a lesson of quantity is not necessarily worse than quality. It just depends what are you optimizing for. So in this example that I'm giving, or this point, purposeful quantity in the pursuit of optimization is far more valuable than wasting time optimizing for quality. So we need to first understand what optimizing means and why it is of importance. Logically, the easiest and best way to get something done is when everything is set up perfectly, everything needed is there, and there are no missing gaps, so it becomes real easy and efficient. Who wouldn't want that, right? You just show up, everything you need is there, and you just do it perfectly. Although this is the logic, the chances of all these factors falling into place is in reality is slim to none. Furthermore, the less these things are aligned, the less inclined we are to start on that something. So in essence, we spend more time trying to optimize these conditions than doing meaningful work. So we spend our time waiting for these things to happen and waiting for these things to align, that we actually we're not doing the actual work. We're doing the work that sets us up for that work. So that is still not doing the work. So blind quantity is also useless. Okay, I'm not saying that all quantity, you just do quantity means you are going to get better. Blind quantity is useless. So you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. But purposeful quantity is the way to go, right? You have a goal. Your goal is to do this, right? So you're just going to do as many things as you can. You're going to do this thing as many times as you can so that you get to a place where you are confident that that is what you want. So that's purposeful quantity. Or in another way, you are doing this so that you can figure out the optimization things you need as you go along. For example, if you want to make a vase and you want to know what is the perfect material you need, or what is the ratio of the things that you need in the mold, right? You cannot just be like, I think that this is this because of that. The best way is to try different ones and then figure out like, okay, this one I needed more of this. Okay, the next one I try to put more. Okay, I need a bit less of that. So by doing it and by testing, you are purposefully doing quantity for optimization of your perfect one in the end. So it's also about consistency. So you can do purposeful quantity, and even if it's like once in a while, it's still not going to make any difference. It has to be consistent. Through getting work done, even in unoptimized situations, information is gained, which adds to the pursuit of optimization and improves the understanding of what is being done. Like I said in my first episode, there is no right time to start something, and there is no right condition. Waiting for an optimal time to start something or get something done is wasting time. You cannot progress and wait at the same time. You're either waiting or you're progressing. So if you're waiting for the right time, you are not making progress. Period. Purposeful quantity in the pursuit of optimization is far more valuable than wasting time optimizing for quality. And that's why you are so unhappy, because you are just waiting and waiting and waiting, or doing, what's that? What did I say? Or doing blind quantity, not purposeful quantity. Second last one. We're almost there, guys. Number 9. We don't rise to our standards, we fall to our systems. This is one of my all-time favorites. I don't know where this was from. I should have maybe done more research. That's my bad on my part. I'll do it more next time. But yes, we don't rise to our standards, we fall to our systems. To explain this a little bit in depth, what brings us to our standards is our systems. Standards are levels we hope to perform at, and hope being the key word, meaning that it's something that is not a given. We hope to get it, right? So our system refers to how we do things. It's things that we punish, what we let ourselves get away with, the accountability held, the procedure things are done, and all those systemic operational procedures. So these systemic procedures set us up for a certain standard irregardless of what we aim for. So we can aim for elite standards, but if our systems are fit only for a slightly above average, then that is what we will fall to instead of rising to elite. And I'll give an example. The best example that I can give is Formula One, because I love it a lot and I really invest a lot of time understanding these things. So like, for those that understand Formula One, you know there are back markers and you know there are top teams. For those that don't understand, it's basically you have the best team and then you have the worst team, performance-wise. But the thing is, all of those teams, whether you are the best or the worst, they want to win, right? So their standard is to win. But the reason why those at the bottom stay at the bottom is because their systems are not as good as the systems of those top teams. Systems being like your structure of how your work is done, the amount of money you invest in it, the amount of people you have working for it, the amount of dedication you have, the amount of pedigree personnel that you have, right? All these systems are not as good as the top teams. So they can have the same goals and the same standards, but they fall to their systems because their systems are only fit and capable to achieve this certain standard. No matter how high they aim, their systems are only able to manage and accomplish this much. So this is where a disconnect happens for most people. Everyone, I would assume, will always be aiming for a higher standard than their system is geared to achieve, and somehow there is a blind spot within everyone to that. Somehow we either truly believe that the systems we currently have is capable of achieving the standard we want, and if we don't get it, it must not be our system's fault, but be because of something external. If you have not succeeded at 10 things, it is about time you think, what is the common denominator? If you have 10 toxic friendships, what is the common denominator? If you keep getting called out, what is the common denominator? If you are not able to achieve something after a few attempts, what is the common denominator? Is it something that you can change? Are you willing to change or accept? You either improve your systems to match your standards, lower your standards to match your systems, or continue living unhappy, frustrated, and disappointed with yourself. And this does not just apply for individuals, but teams even more so. We don't rise to our standards, we fall to our systems. Last one, let's bring it home. Contrary to popular belief, being liked and being accepted are very different, and oftentimes in the pursuit of the former, we build more distance from the latter. I'll repeat one more time. Contrary to popular belief, being liked and being accepted are very different, and oftentimes in the pursuit of the former, we build more distance from the latter. In the media age, the word accepted has been co-opted with the word like. But these two words mean extremely different things if you are not aware of it yet. You don't need one to have the other. I will say for sure that what a majority of the world really seeks to be is to be accepted, not to be liked as much. However, because on whatever social media platforms out there, the algorithm labels it as like, or because in the love language, it has empowered the word like. Oh, I like you, you like me. Do you like me? I like you. Or even just platonic friendships, right? Throwing out the word like more than anything has just made this word like more known and more used and more powerful than the other more important word, which is accept. Right? So we are just focused and concerned about being liked more than we are aware that what we really want is to be accepted. If we are not liked, then the subtext is that we are not accepted. So we always link it together. The definition of like, if you did not know the definition, is to enjoy. And the definition of accept is to consider something as satisfactory, reasonable, or true. If these two words can be used synonymously, then we can only by definition accept things we enjoy. If we use it synonymously, that means interchangeably. That means they both mean the same thing. Like is to enjoy, and accept is to consider something as satisfactory, reasonable, or true. Okay, so that means whatever we consider as satisfactory, reasonable, or true has to be enjoyed if we use them together. So for example, stay with me. So if I find no joy from looking at an apple, means I do not accept that what I'm looking at is an apple. Synonymously, right? If I find no enjoyment from working out to gain muscle or mental toughness, which who does because it's so tiring and so painful, means I do not accept that that is the way to achieve it. That is not a satisfactory, reasonable, or true way to achieve muscle gain and mental toughness. If I find no enjoyment in gravity, means I do not accept that gravity is true. Remember, it is the feeling of enjoyment that encapsulates the word like, right? And so that means we need to feel happy, we need to feel excited about it, we need to feel full of positive energy when we like something. So the truth is that I will have zero emotion about gravity. You talk to me about gravity, I'll be like, if anything, I'll be like bored. So it'll be like anything except enjoyment, right? But you can accept that gravity is there. I will have negative emotions about waking up at 5 a.m. to work out, but I accept that that is what I gotta do to, do whatever I feel like it's gonna do for me, right? Build my mental toughness, build my discipline. It is a satisfactory, reasonable, and true thing to do. I might have negative emotions about this particular person, but I can accept that that is who they are. So I don't have to like in order to accept. And I don't have to accept in order to like. They are two completely different things. So why is it that we want likes? We want likes because it speaks to our dopamine and serotonin. We are not addicted to likes, we are addicted to that chemical secretion, that little dopamine hit. And in the pursuit of getting that constant flow of feel-good chemicals, we become more of what we are not liked. And because we synonymously use like and accept, we have built a false image of ourselves that is accepted, which unequivocally proves even more so that who we actually are is not going to be accepted. Because if they accept this, which is a very contrasting thing of what I really am, and they accept this, means if this is so different from this, they are not going to accept this. They're not going to accept the true one. So in the pursuit of being liked, you're changing yourself into this false image, right? And everybody accepts this false image. Your true self is not accepted. It's not going to be accepted. Right? So in pursuit to be liked, we are further away from being truly accepted. You don't have to be liked to be accepted. You don't have to be accepted to be liked. And more and most importantly, do you accept yourself and do you like yourself? Because internally it works the same way. Again, in episode 2, I talked about this whole duality thing where within you there are technically two people. two people. So within yourself, you also have this little, do you accept yourself? Do you accept yourself? Do you like yourself? So contrary to popular belief, being liked and being accepted are very different, and oftentimes in the pursuit of the former, we build more distance from the latter. And this sums up these 10 points, which is maybe the reason why you are unhappy. And if you can understand all this, start to work on it, and then maybe you will see the change in your life that you have been hoping for. And yeah, hopefully it helps you understand yourself more and improves your general life. Yeah, but of course, again, I am not a professional. If you really need like any kind of consultation or advice, professional advice, please seek professional advice. I think they will be able to help you more, but this is what I have found helpful for myself and hopefully for you too. So yeah, let me know what you think. And that is it for this episode. If you haven't, please check out all my other episodes. Yeah, it will help keep this going and know that I am doing something good for you, and I can continue doing more of these. Yep. So that is all. Have a good day, night, afternoon, morning, I don't know, middle of the night. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.